So, joining us on the How Did You podcast today is Gersh, the social media manager for the New York Subliners and The Flank. So, Gersh, what did you want to be when you were younger?
Um, to be honest, I didn't know. It was always just like one idea here, one idea there. And that's kind of what the past year has been, through the natural process of, I guess, just opportunities in life, getting myself on a path that I guess spoke to me. So, yeah.
Did you ever see that you'd be managing the New York Subliners' social media or even The Flanks?
Prior to the past year, no. Once I did get into esports, though, like I had a goal, right? And I was ready to work towards it. So at that point, just off of pure ambition, I did intend on being part of a team. Just like through believing in myself, like I did see that as a possibility, not in like a self-absorbed way, just more of like a ambition way. Um, but I mean, if you ask me about like how I thought about this like a year before or a year and a half before, no, like not even remotely in esports. So
There is a question from Reddit that says, "How did you wind up running socials? I've always been interested, but I have no idea how to get my foot in the door."
I think it's just pursuing the opportunity. Like the way esports is a lot of the opportunities in this industry are purely based off of experience and merit, less off of prior qualifications or degrees. For me, it was just kind of having the intent on doing it, or just the general idea from being friends with people that were in socials league, and I guess seeking out the opportunity. Like I started small. Like besides my initial kind of rise in the community, when I decided I wanted to run socials, I was just looking for any opportunity. And as far as getting your foot in the door goes, I mean, sometimes small opportunities are what leads you to the next step. It's not always going to be like an instant jump from, hey, I'm running a small amateur team socials. Now I'm instantly going pro. No, it's all about working your way up. So I started working for like teams that, I mean, we're just small organizations, but just having that itself was something that I could put on my record and use that as learning, but also experience that I could present to the next opportunity, eventually driving me there. So I guess the way the ball kind of bounced was starting off at two small orgs, so Team or Guilty Esports and Team DGen, using that to work on the socials for the podcast when that was running with Nameless, using that to eventually run socials for Wester during last year's Challenger season, and then midway through around May, applying to subliners and getting that opportunity. So yeah.
When you found out that Subliners were offering you the job, how did you feel?
Scared, honestly. I mean, it was a really odd feeling. It was something that I'd kind of worked my way towards for the course of, I want to say, over 6 months. And the opportunity was finally there, and it was just a matter of like, I want to take it, but something doesn't feel right. I don't feel confident. Um, and I think that was just like fear and nervousness. I mean, along with like the great people you meet in esports, a lot of horror stories also come up through conversation, bad experiences. But I think I was very lucky with subliners. I mean, I was at a point with Wester when like things in challengers weren't looking the best, where I was just desperate for any CL opportunity. But the fact that I landed at subliners, where just the culture here and I mean the community here, like even if I didn't work for them, but I'd gone to know the staff, like I could say that in full confidence. It's just I've gotten nothing but support and empowerment working here, and I don't think I would have grown as a professional without this specific opportunity.
Has there been an experience that's caught you off guard, or has there been an experience that when you do think about your experience so far, that's the
Mhm.
one that you choose?
Yeah, probably. I want to say champs this year. Basically, subliners this year, we were kind of on the map during matches for our memes, especially our win memes. When we did thankfully win, we put some pretty killer content out there. If I say so myself. Um, but of course, champs, like it's the final tournament of the year. You want to go out with kind of a classy touch, but also with respect. And we were playing Optic in our first match. So I don't know if you recall the meme we posted for Optic, the smoking that Optic pack, but we knew like well and good it was a risk that we were taking, and it was a bit of a lethal meme. The kind of the strategy at subliners, but also just like the regard we take is we try not to put out like those type of lethal, quote unquote, lethal memes if we're not like eliminating that team from the tournament, because it could come back to bite us in losers bracket. And yeah, so essentially, my manager at the time, Yangsen, who now works for Cloud9, she and I made a deal saying that I could drop that meme after we beat Optic in winners bracket, so long as when I did, or when we did lose, or I got to re-explain this, but so basically we beat Optic in winners bracket, right? And yes, there was the risk that we could match up against them in losers bracket, but the way I saw that was if we lose to them, then we're going to be out of the tournament anyway. So my deal with her was that I'll take this risk now, so that but for the trade-off is sorry, I'm really bad at explaining this. The trade-off is that when we do get out of the tournament, I will have a very solid, heart-wrenching, emotional video that like seals the deal for the tournament. So that way, even if Optic do beat us, it'll still be like a classy, well thought out video. So yeah, we dropped the Optic meme. We had the risk the next day, lost to FaZe, and then eventually lost to Rocker. And I mean, to me, like I'm very passionate about the team, so it was still just like that little, not even shock, just like talking with the team, dealing with the loss, right? And then I realized, holy shit, I promised Yankson like an emotional, like cinematic video for us leaving champs, right? So I'm there. By the way, editing all this on my phone because my laptop sucks. Just within the course of 20 minutes, like moving my thumbs as fast as I can, and it's the most pressure I've ever been under, but also like I think I work better under pressure. So the fact that I don't know, I was able to complete the season like with a moment like that, but also with a product that had like that level of quality was to me just that to me was like a cleansing of the whole imposter syndrome. Whereas like prior to that, I doubted myself, or like, do I really belong in this industry? Am I really up to par? And that to me was like, my team depended on me. And when it came to it, like I put my best foot forward, had my mindset right, and it was perfect. So yeah.
You've spoken about how you kind of got into subliners,
Mm-hmm.
but then you became affiliated with the Flank. How did that come ahead?
It's a fun story. So I used to run socials for the podcast before I was working for Wester. So this is like started in August of 2020. And Nameless used to run the podcast with his co-host Pac-Man, but the production assistant was Ben J. Nassim back then. So Ben had always like, I guess, had an eye on my career. I don't know if you through your research like found the whole Vondahar Elite stuff, me trolling on the podcast, but like Ben kind of allowed a lot of that to happen because he was the one like dragging people into the calls, and he had a special regard, which I still like thank him to this day for. And it got to the point where I kind of worked my way up, running socials for amateur teams, and then eventually like getting the subliners opportunity. Once I got the subliners opportunity in May of this year, and I was also like following Zuma's retirement and him starting up the Flank. It was kind of the perfect storm. Like there was an opportunity for someone who was on the same team at the time. Like Zuma was on subliners. He wanted to grow his brand, and Ben had also known me. Ben was actively running things at the Flank, so he DM'd me one day, reached out, and yeah, it kind of just came full circle with him. Yeah.
Is there another experience of, say, the Flank that sticks in your head, if you had to choose one?
I feel like there is some significant moment that I'm missing, but the most recent thing that really comes to mind is probably Zuma's transition to FaZe. The Flank for me is a very different opportunity because subliners, I work on a team. Even at Wester, I worked on a team. There were some projects like beforehand, like the podcast and other social media teams, where while I was like still in full control, I didn't have that like experience and sense of like running a professional account that I do now with the Flank. So for me, in terms of the Flank's marketing, that was completely my responsibility to, I mean, run the whole transition to the brand. And it's crazy because despite like, I mean, the whole bait on the Flank Twitter, like some people like it, a lot of people love it. I can say that for a fact. It's crazy because Zoom's announcement was this month. The whole baiting and stuff was last month. The announcement was supposed to be last month. And it's crazy because the Flunk Twitter actually did more impressions and engagements last month than it has this month. And it was like a record number. So I don't know, but for me, like that numbers aside, it was a personal project to kind of smoothly guide the transition in terms of like marketing the Flank and incorporating it to Phase. There was like a lot of bases we needed to cover. That's another point where I had to like sit down, edit the video, the welcome home Zoom video that I made. It's still pinned on the Flank Twitter. And at the end of the day, like when everything was said and done, I think that's like a specific project that I look back on and I guess kind of just feel proud about. There were a lot of things that went right, a few things that slipped up here and there, but Flank at the end of the day, I think has a really good team behind it. And that's something I like hold true to myself. Like when Zuma went to Phase, we executed it like step by step and methodically, and yeah, had a good, pretty good final product. So yeah.
Let's focus on you, and let's talk about how you're only 19. That is a very, very young age for, say, anybody within esports to have such a prominent role that you have. You mentioned imposter syndrome. Reddit wants to know, do you ever feel intimidated handling what you handle at your young age?
That's a tough question. I think as far as subliners goes, there's a lot of comfort, but that's not because I'm sitting back and taking things for granted. More so because, as I mentioned earlier, like the environment at Anbox is just like we're all very supportive. We all fill in where needed. But there are moments like, I mean, clear example of it is last year, Major 5, when we beat LAG, we put out the win graphic with the Harambe copy, and next thing you know, Twitter was like a shitstorm. No better way to put it. I mean, of course, like we kept it up for valid reasons. Like at the end of the day, people, like half people that were mad about it were just trolling, and that's a whole nother like can of worms. But that to me, like there is always that initial point of fear, like, hey, people aren't taking this right. What happens now? And I think that's kind of what the growth in esports is, and getting the opportunity to work on like a professional team with other people, like having my managers to support me through that decision and be like, you know, we're keeping this up. Like it's a good tweet. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, and that's always going to be something that I don't take for granted and take with a pinch of salt. Like I need to be careful with every move. Of course, especially on like subliners, I feel I'm a lot more careful there than Flank, because Flank is a lot more easy and open, and we're allowed to, you know, go rogue and roast Activision in a meme. Whereas subliners, it's no, like we are a multi-million-dollar team in a multi-million-dollar league. And when I hit that tweet button, a lot of responsibilities carried through that little tap on my screen. So yeah, of course I don't focus on it because paranoia is not going to get me anywhere. But yeah, it's for sure part of the process. Like I think it's just something that you have to keep in the back of your mind, but also incorporate into your daily habits, because you don't want to be in a position where you make a bad decision that completely escapes like the responsibility that's at your hands.
What was life like when you were younger? Obviously, you've mentioned to me personally that you only found esports during the pandemic. Was there any other, well, other than esports, what hobbies did you like to do? What did you do before esports?
The whole pandemic thing is like my start of working in esports. I mean, I'd follow esports for a while. I've been following COD since Black Ops 3. And following Call of Duty 2 was like kind of something that I took up on my own because I enjoyed the game a lot. Otherwise, growing up, a lot of my friends only really followed like the CS:GO communities. That was huge esport at the time. But I mean, I didn't even start playing Call of Duty until pretty late. I grew up with a Wii, so just playing Wii Sports and stuff. Eventually, when I did get a PlayStation, like I was always a FIFA kid, so I played a lot of FIFA prior to Call of Duty. Still had that love for Call of Duty though. Like got a lot into it. I used to play just the campaigns through like illegal downloads on my on my mom's computer. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Growing up, I mean, esports was something that I think just I ran into purely based off of like the time that we live in. Like um if I were maybe 4 or 5 years older, I don't think I would have found it that easily. But I mean, especially living in California, it's Silicon Valley, where I mean, everywhere you look, it's technology. Like I can drive 20 minutes and run into the Microsoft office, Amazon. I mean, such and such and such. So um, yeah, I think I can't really tell you for sure like what life was like before esports, because I think the footsteps and like the path to being immersed in like a world of technology was always there.
Obviously, before any of this came around, you were kind of running Vondahar Elite.
Mhm.
How did that come around, and is that what informs the VE at the end of your gamer tag?
It is, yeah. It's just a little like I guess tribute to it, because I can't the at Gersh isn't available on Twitter. But um yeah, I guess you'd say I found Call of Duty again because I'd followed it since Black Ops 3, been in the scene for a while, and then kind of let go of it around like World War II, Black Ops 4, halfway through. So when I came back, I was still a mod for Nameless. Like I was watching a lot of his streams, tuning in, and I realized like, hey, Nameless now runs the podcast. So I used to call in like normally, just by myself. I mean, it was pretty cool opportunities too, like getting to talk to pro players. Fun fact: the first episode I ever went on, I talked to Zuma. So that's kind of another
It's
thing that came
history.
full circle. Yeah, exactly. Um, but I, you know, I just got like really bored one day, and I'm like, you know what? Like this episode's kind of slow. I forget who was on. Oh, Methods was on. I was like, you know what? Let's just have a little fun with it. And of course, like with a bit of like an immature touch, but yeah, called in, I used my burner Discord, put on a funny voice, and next thing you know, Nameless clips it, posts it, and it blows up. Um, and I mean, me with being stuck at home in a lockdown, right? Having nothing better to do, I'm like, you know what? Let's do it again. And of course, like everything was in a respectful and like mindful way. I'm not like going rogue and saying explicit things, and I mean, filing TOS. I'm just like with comedic intent, something that's like well thought out, messing with the pros. So it continued on for I want to say like 5 or 6 episodes. Each one again like becoming a hit on Twitter. At some point, Hex was on, and I mean, through a really awkward manipulation of words, I got him to say Scump was washed. So just stupid stuff like that. And it got to the point where like it had hit the peak of its popularity, and I kind of was faced with the decision where either I keep it going, and eventually see the joke like die or run into the ground, or I end things here while it's high. And I mean, start a new chapter. Like I've gotten a lot of reception from it on Twitter, but do I really want to be this? I mean, for lack of a better word, troll, right? um, so I mean, I was a pretty outspoken Empire fan with the whole like Shadow Illy stuff. And what do you know? First episode after Empire win champs is with Crim6. So I come on, I do the whole reveal. That's probably my favorite episode. Just like Grim's reaction to it, because he and I had like a like fun banter back and forth on Twitter while I was still in the whole Vondahar Elite persona. Um, and yeah, like everyone took it really well. Nameless knew me, of course, because I was an active mod for him. Um, but that was also like the turning point. It was kind of me deciding, I've gotten this reception, but I want to turn this into something more. I don't want to just be a shitter, right? So that's also where I put out I used that Twitter to first make memes, a lot of which Crim6 um they were based around him, but like he enjoyed them, gave him gas, used that to get my first opportunities in social media, and rest is history. So yeah.
Who are your personal top 3 or top 5 retired or still around Call of Duty players of all time?
Crimsix and Clayster for sure. I think first team I ever followed in Call of Duty was the FaZe Black Ops 3 team. And even though he wasn't the best at the time, Clayster was always like I want to say, this snazzy like leader guy. He wasn't scared to be out there. He has a lot of notorious clips from Black Ops 3, like kind of questioning the game, like the intended line of sight thing. But just like through legacy as well, just following Clayster like throughout his career. That's always been something that stuck out to me. I have a lot of respect for the guy. Crimsix to me, like I didn't enjoy him as much when he was on Optic, but that's also because Optic were like, I guess you could say, the villains of of the CWO, purely because like it's either like you support them or you don't. But he's always been one that has like a lot of personality. I think that's what COD thrives off of, like our pros having personality instead of just being random kids that have just gamed for hours on end. And he and I also have a pretty like fun overlap and sense of humor, which is why like working with him now is a kind of a blessing in disguise. Elite for sure. But like apart from the whole fact that like our league careers intertwine, I mean, I initially gassed Illy because of the representation that his presence in the league brings to me. We're from the same, or I mean, our families are from the same part of India. It's cool seeing that. But besides that fact too, like he's an insane hard worker. Him and Shotzi are for sure up there, like top 2. It's really cool to see like the output of that, but he's a good guy as well. So yeah. 2 more. I think Zuma's up there. He was the first like superstar I really got to be acquainted with in the league on that BO3 team. He was always just top fragging on the leaderboard. And honestly, probably Doug Sensor. He's had questionable moments with his personality here and there, but my biggest thing in, I mean, working in esports but also being a fan of it is content. For me, like that's what I aspire to be like completely immersed in at the end of the day, but also just like that's what got me into the scene. For me, when I was transitioning from being a casual Call of Duty player to being immersed in the esport, it was either I pick the ginger haired Optic guy who's frying in lobbies and posting videos of him getting like 80 kills, or I pick the FaZe guys. And I mean, I'd been watching FaZe earlier, so I saw Doug and I was like, you know what, this guy's cool. So yeah, I think he's always put that importance in content. That's what's carried him a lot throughout the years, and just out of respect, but also just out of that initial regard for him, he's got to be up there.
Oh, definitely. Like you say, everybody likes different people for different reasons, and it's understandable why people kind of do see Optic as the villains, but also see Clayster as the leader, Zuma as the GOAT, because let's be honest, Denial World Champs, everything else all about it, just it cements his place. Completely agree with the top 5 reasonings for it, even more so. But you've been with Subliners and Anbox for 7 months. Where would you put yourself in another 7 months?
It's tough because esports, like the opportunities often vary. I mean, right now I can't. I mean, I probably see myself as Subliners, but if not as Subliners because of one reason or another, for sure still working with Call of Duty if possible. That's always my biggest thing. Like, it's not so much of a crutch as it is like a benefit. Just purely because I love Call of Duty. Like, a lot of the content on socials, for example, just comes naturally. It's second nature basically. So it makes my life a lot easier, but also helps me be a lot more passionate. One more thing I could probably incorporate is having that same drive for the Valorant side of things. Of course, Andbox, we have a team, but over the past, like, I mean, I guess just during the off season, I've gotten really into Valorant. Reminds me of my early CS:GO days, and just the passion the community has right now is really connected there. So I'm ready to follow the scene this year when it starts back up. Of course, after Champions. So you'll see me interacting with the Anbox account here and there. And possibly Halo. I know the flank recently has started putting an importance on it. It just depends how ACS does in terms of like viewership and if the attention span is still there. In terms of like employment opportunities, though, I'm really happy with where I am. I mean, for me, it would probably be just growth here, whether it means a transition to like a different opportunity within like Anbox or the flank. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy where I am, not in a complacent, ignorant way. Just kind of, if I'm thinking about myself in 6 months, I mean, this is the other side of it. Like I still have school to do before I make the complete like jumping into esports. I also want to get my bachelor's, so I have like a little backup plan if worst comes to worst. Um, so until then, I'm still going to be like part time. And as far as things have come right now, I don't see a happier place to do it than subliners. So yeah.
You mentioned your bachelor's.
Mhm.
What would your bachelor's be in if you were to get it as a backup?
Biology. Yeah, I'm nearly done with my associates in biology right now. It's not the most fun, not the easiest, but at the end of the day, it's a reliable option to have. For me, like my family supports me going all into esports just so long as I have a solidified plan if things do like end up falling apart. I mean, esports is always going to be something where you don't have to have a degree. It's just experience, but things are often unstable. Like we're looking at it right now. CDL is having its ups and downs. Halo had its ups and downs, and nothing in life is guaranteed. But if you do have the solid option, I mean, it kind of eliminates possibilities of tougher times. So yeah.
What is your personal favourite, whether it be subliners or flank? I'm assuming it'll be the flank because of the aspects that you've mentioned previously. What is your favourite meme that you've posted?
Um, Subliners actually. Uh, flank is what it is, but at the end of the day, like if something pops up on the flank, it's usually just me like laughing at myself. Where at the subliners, like because of the team that contributes towards winning that game, helping make the meme, helping post it, like it's success that I get to celebrate with 30 people as opposed to just myself. But um, it's fun because my first and last win memes last season were both optic related. And I mean, no like hate to optic, especially now that they've merged with Empire. But of course, it's always going to get the most juice on socials. So I think between the first one, which is like optic looking for excuses, and probably the last one, which it's probably the last one, the smoking that optic back. Less because of the content. I think we've made like pretty well edited videos. That was just a picture, but the significance of it to me. I mean, I was at a COD land for the first time, got to post it at champs, got to walk back through the hallway with all the teams, feeling like I was on top of the world just because I got to post a win against Optic after 5 months of losing. Um, I don't know. It's to me, it's just a personal like milestone there. It marks like a lot for me. Um, just the happy aspects of having that moment to celebrate in esports. And I know it sounds weird, like when you line it up against like subliners content. I mean, the question was like, what my favorite is, but even if it's not the best, that one means a lot to me. Um, just I got to post it in a moment where I was surrounded by people that I care about and that care about me, and I was at a COD lane when I did it. So yeah.
You speak about the amount of different kind of memes that you posted. Where does the
Mhm.
amount of creativity come from?
Um, my brain at 3 a.m. I mean, I suffer from a lot of random thoughts fleeting in my mind throughout the day, and I don't know. My brain has a weird thing where like at the end of the day, whether I've come back from work or at school, when I lie down on my bed, if I get an idea that pops in my head, like my brain doesn't let me sleep until I've completed it, and that's purely because like my gears start turning, and I mean, as I'm trying to like drift away to sleep, like I'll start thinking of like new ideas I can incorporate and other things I can add. So I don't know. I mean, for me, I take advantage of that spark of creativity rather than sleeping on it and having to start from scratch in the morning. Like the Zuma video, the like welcome back to phase, that was all edited at like 4 a.m. In my bedroom with me lying down on my phone. So um, yeah, I think the straight answer though is probably just like the fact that I'm so engaged with like media and YouTube. I mean, comedy, memes, and everything like it floats around us. TikTok as well. Like that's where a lot of trends come from nowadays. And um, at the end of the day, like we're in a world where because everyone's connected through social media, like that's where a lot of content is born. And the more I engage with that, whether it's because of personal life or my job, um, the ideas come naturally. So yeah.
You speak about a lot of apps that you may watch or anything like that. Is there certain YouTube channels you personally follow outside of the Call of Duty community?
Yeah. Earliest that come to mind are probably the Sidemen. Like those are guys that I've watched before they were the Sidemen. Especially Vic, like watching a lot of Minecraft YouTubers when I was younger, like it was cool to watch Vic, be watching a KSI video and be like, wait, it's not the same guy. 'Cause Vic was in the background of a lot of them, but I'm trying to think what else. Like a lot of the early YouTubers I used to watch, because I've been on YouTube for quite a while, like since 2011. A lot of the early YouTubers I used to watch, like have kind of dropped off since then or stopped making content. Um, Outside of COD though, like in terms of gaming, I I mean I'm not really sure. Like I think as far as gaming goes, I'm usually attracted to like COD related stuff, and when it's not COD related, like it's good to have that separation of enjoyment, like finding what's considered funny when it's not like in that specific context. Like Cold Ones, I don't know if you've heard of them. Max and Chad, yeah, they have a podcast that I like a lot. TMG, like Cody Co and Noel, it's another podcast I enjoy. Um, yeah, I think a lot of it is not is non gaming related, but it's to find that balance.
What four players would you put in old up to Chicago spot?
I want to preface this by saying like this is coming from a point of no bias at all. I mean, I know I worked in challengers for a bit and I got to know a lot of guys, but I think Paul X, first of all, um, to me, he got kind of well, I don't want to throw shade, but I do think his situation is unfortunate. Like unfortunate with everything that happened. Like just going off of stuff that's already out there in public. I mean, we learned on the flank that London held him to a really significant buyout, higher than Clayster per Crimsworks on the episode that he was on. Um, I mean, just to drop him from the offseason. So seeing Paul's talent, I think I'd for sure put him on that team. Um, Diamond Con is another guy as well. I think he's really good. Um, this is ignoring like thinking about how chemistry would work and how that would all work out. So I guess like maybe Paul likes Diamond Con, and then you need subs, right? Nato's a really good option. I mean, there's plenty of guys out there. I could go the easy route and just say the team that won champs last year, but um, Venom's a good guy as well. Like I don't think Venom ever got that fair chance. When the Western team was dominating challengers last year, they were all like consistently saying in interviews that Venom is the best one out of all of us. And when Venom did get his chance in the league, of course, it was a big opportunity with Thieves, but things just didn't work out in terms of like the way the team dynamic was and how the roster moves are made. With all due respect, of course. So I mean, Pollux and Venom, that's easy chemistry right there. I'd say Nato, and then maybe you give him someone to complement him on the second AR, or you just throw in Diamond Con, who's had that pro experience. I mean, not to go off on another tangent, but that's another thing. Like, not speaking for the org or anything, but when last year Diamond Con got subbed in for Major 5, and then Clayster came back for champs, like anyone, a lot of people had the perspective that Diamond Con got screwed over, but no, like Diamond Con, instead of playing a Challengers Cup, he got the opportunity to play like people that have already made it in the league, have on his record that he has beat them in such and such games. I mean, it was like Gorillas and Mutineers, and that to me speaks a lot more than winning a Challengers Cup against 3 dominant teams and other teams that have been put together in a day, right? So he has a really significant level of talent, and I think he's gonna go far for that as well. Last person I didn't mention is probably Parasite, but I think he'd do really well in a coaching role, like or just an analyst if he wants to. He was helping I'm pretty sure Empire a lot during the Modern Warfare season. He was the first one to crack the code as far as squad spawns went. The guy, like, overall is just a genius at the game. Regardless of how people feel about like his gameplay, whether it's good or not, like he knows the most about Call of Duty. So yeah.
I will actually throw in one bonus little question. If you had to give people advice for getting into social media, getting into esports, or getting into life as a whole, what would it be?
I guess just chase the opportunity. Like, people, I mean, I get people that DM me asking like, how'd you get your foot in the door, and like, how did opportunities come to you? But opportunities don't come to you. Like, you can't sit stationary and just expect like, oh, people are gonna randomly happen across your Twitter profile and think, hey, this guy makes memes, let me hit him up. No, I mean, it's all about what you bring to the table. But to bring stuff to the table, you have to get to the table. Um, like, none of the opportunities I've had have been something that like that I waited for and came to me. Like, it was always actively chasing the next step. I mean, whether it's something so simple as like just looking for the next podcast episode to troll on, or looking for a small esports org that needs a social media manager, to looking at Nameless' stream and asking him in chat, like, do you need someone to run podcast socials, to using that at the end of last year when I decided like I want to take another step, and DMing all of the Wester guys, including their coach, saying, hey, like, if you guys need someone to market your brand, I'll do it. And then growing that, using that to hit up every single CDL team in existence, right? Yeah, it's just always like it's the pursuit of the next thing. I guess the biggest advice I can give is just never stop like setting goals for yourself, but also like never stop believing in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, then who will? Yeah.
Fantastic advice, Gersh. I appreciate your time massively. Thank you ever so much.
Appreciate you as well. Thank you for having me on.
I'm going to stop